Minutes in the books. One of my favorite places in the NBA, the Field House in Indianapolis. Great place to watch a ball game, and Jimmy Butler.
Why don't you move to Indiana if you like it that much?
I'm just saying it's a great arena.
It is.
It is. It's a shrine. It's a shrine to the game of basketball. It is a shrine.
You got to live in Indiana, though.
To the game of basketball. I'm just saying. The shrine to the game of basketball. Welcome, everybody. American Express Halftime Report. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley. We didn't know for sure if Joel Embiid was going to play, bothered by a bad back, but he's been out there. What are you doing?
I'm putting on some cologne. You putting on some what? Cologne. Let me just say this about the Philadelphia 76ers. They've got to be the stupidest organization in the history of sports.
Why?
You got a franchise player who's got a bad back, who's injury prone, and you got him out, he can barely walk, and you got him out there playing in a regular season game. You have to be the stupidest organization.
They sat him out for a year.
Dude, he's hurt.
I'm just saying, but
Man up, he ain't hurt.
No, dude.
You walk on that court, you play. I don't want to hear that.
The guy's left. No, listen.
They can't be stupid. They sat him out for a year.
No, that was 2 years ago. He's played the last couple of years.
Chuck,
but I'm saying,
Chuck,
why would you gave the guy $150 million. He's got a bad back. He's clearly laboring. Why would you play him? Kenny, when you're hurt.
Does he have a mouth, Chuck? Does he have a mouth?
No, sometimes coaches and owners have to protect you from your own stupidity. There was many times I played.
I disagree with that.
Well, we can disagree. There's many times I played in a basketball game, Ernie, and I shouldn't have played.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah, sometimes
That's why I walk like I do.
And first of all, anybody watching the game can see the guys laboring.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with the fact that you can never ask a player who worked their salt.
Well, don't play them.
Should you play? Because they always go, well, 50% of me is better than blah, blah, blah. You think that way. Even role players or whatever.
If he's hurt, he shouldn't play.
However, I wouldn't call them. I would say that they've been very protective of this guy.
But this is a difference. This is a new injury. He's clearly laboring.
So he might not come out the second half. But
but why put him out there anyway? You don't take no chance with your franchise guy in the middle of the season.
Oh, listen. You can't be soft either.
Yeah, you can't be soft.
Listen, the guy
can't just take a chance.
The guy's hurt. You can see it.
All right, now
I watched the first half. The guy's hurt.
Now you're gone, but you're not. I'm not going to have you to the point where you're soft enough to say that we can't fight through being hurt or being injured.
He is one of the American Express teammates for Philadelphia as we look at the scoring breakdown in the first half. Jimmy Butler with 13, Embiid had 9, also had 4 rebounds and 5 assists. He went 4 for 11 from the floor, and Ben Simmons is 0 for 3 from the floor. Does have 4 assists, 5 boards. And let's shift.
Ben Simmons doesn't have to score to be a good player. Like that, there's a difference. There are certain guys.
Don't you think he needs to improve his shot?
No. Well, I think he could. I think he could score. I'm not saying he doesn't have to. I'm not saying he doesn't need to. You're right. He could. But what makes Ben Simmons great to me is that he creates a pace for the Philadelphia 76ers that everyone can play comfortable by. He does the same things that Jason Kidd did. He does the same thing that Steve Nash, the same thing that Steph Curry does in Golden State. When they're in their game, they play at a pace that no matter what you do, they're going to play that way.
However,
that is his strength and his superpower.
However, come playoff time, that pace is going to slow down, and he's going to have to hit shots and score points.
And that's what happened to him against the Celtics.
Boston, yeah.
And Kenny, I'm going to agree with you and disagree.
Okay.
He can be a good player, not being able to shoot. He can't be a great player.
Okay.
Like, he can be a good player, but he cannot be a great player until he learns how to shoot. Because Shaq is 100% correct. Once you play against the elite defensive team, like he did against the Celtics, they're going to make him score.
Let's go to Jimmy Butler while we have time. What you saw in the first half?
What's he complaining about?
Well, no, I could.
The check didn't have pictures of him.
I can understand why a guy like Jimmy Butler complains, because he's a very talented guy, and he's probably just saying to the coaching staff, "Hey, I want you to use my talents." However, me and Chuck played with a guy named Cedric Ceballos that can give you 30, 40 anytime. He never complained. This is what he did. You just move without the basketball, and then when you get the basketball, you produce. So I don't know, his plays or whether or not called, but when you get the ball, if you got a high percentage shot, take it. I like how you play. I like the energy you play with. But don't complain about shots. Just move and play basketball. Cedric Ceballos, I played him for 3 years. Never, ever complain about plays. And at nights, he'll give you 30, 40, and 50. Am I right, Chuck?
And let me tell you something. I love Cedric Ceballos. And one thing Jimmy Butler has to understand, when I was a great player in Philadelphia, we sucked. And I had to score every single basket every night. It was awful. And we didn't win. Jimmy Butler is a really terrific player, but he's never won or been on a really good team. When you play with better players, other players are going to get the ball. You get, like when I told you, Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson, when I got those guys, it was like I had went to heaven, which I'm never going, number one.
Well, they got you, actually.
Yeah.
Because they were already there.
You know that for a fact.
Oh, it's going to be hot where I'm going, Ernie. It's going to be hot. And you know what I'm going to do some mornings? I'm going to go over to Shaq's house and wait.
You're right, Chuck.
But Jimmy has to understand, Ernie, and the Celtics are going through this right now. You get less shots when you play with better players. When you're on a bad team, you get all the shots because you're the one who sucked the least.
You might want to invest in some.
Just in case. You might need this later, yes.
Or some asbestos. Maybe you can invest in that.
You don't come to my house, Chuck.
Hey, Shaq, get up. Let's go play golf.
Welcome to the American Express Halftime Report. American Express, the official card of the NBA.
Hey, don't you owe me some money?
I'll do all your $1,000.
Joel Embiid has been bothered by a bad back. Didn't know if he's going to play or not, but it looks like he will play tonight for the Sixers as they take on Victor Oladipo and the Indiana Pacers, who are number 3 in the East. 2 of the top 4 teams in the East squaring off here on TNT. We're going to the Fieldhouse next. Well, here we go. Studio J in Atlanta. Got a pretty good doubleheader here.
I'm looking forward to both games tonight.
Sixers and the Pacers with Kevin Harlan. Reggie Miller going back to Indiana to call that game tonight with RGO, Rosgold, and Woody. And then we got the Lakers and the Thunder. And here inside Studio J, Ernie Johnson.
Well, that's not a good one.
Shaquille O'Neal.
That's a beatdown.
Kenny Smith.
I miss you, Charles.
That's a beat down.
Charles.
I haven't laughed since last.
Hey, let's enjoy this first game. That second game is going to be a ass-kicking.
You never know.
You do know. Have you seen the Lakers play?
You never.
They lost to the Cavaliers the other night.
Yeah, you never.
And I must have been really bored to watch that game.
We
were texting each other. We were texting each other during the game.
Are you watching this?
Are you watching the Lakers against the Cavaliers? I mean, that's how bad our lives are right now.
That is a sad commentary on your life.
It was.
I thought you're better than
I
that.
texted him. I was like, "Are you watching this game?"
I was texting each other.
Like,
Yeah, we were.
Because I flew back with you. We had a different.
Oh, must be nice to have a private jet.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, that wasn't me, man. I'm on Delta, baby.
Hey, must be nice to have a big old private jet.
Yeah, it was nice.
So anyway, Philadelphia, Indiana. They've played twice already this year. Home team has not won a game yet, and Philadelphia embarking on a real interesting chunk of schedule right now. Next 12 games, all against teams with winning records. So here's what Philadelphia's got.
Yeah,
They got at Indiana tonight, then home with OKC, home with the Rockets, home with the Spurs, and then on the road to Denver, the Lakers, Golden State, Sacramento, and then back home for Toronto, Denver, the Lakers, and Boston.
Well, let me say this about the Sixers. They're not embarking on a trip. They're embarking on their season. Ernie, Kenny talks about it all the time. At some point, you have to figure out what you are. The Sixers are still fumbling around. Same thing with the Celtics. At some point during the season, we're coming up on the All-Star break. The Sixers got to figure out a pecking order. And this is going to be a make-or-break trip for them because when they come back,
a stretch of games, a stretch of 12 games.
But when you play against the elite teams, you can't be going into February and March trying to say, well, whose team is it? What type? Are we a defensive team? We're an offensive team?
Whose team is it, Kenny?
Well, this is what Shaq and I were just talking about.
Whose team is it?
We hate that phrase, whose team is it? You know, it's because if I average 18 rebounds, is it my team? If I average 12 assists, is it my team? If I average 30 points, is my team? Everyone has a job to do that they are really good at. This is what should happen. Ben Simmons creates the pace every time.
Yep.
He's the guy who's going to get the ball to create the pace of what it is. Offensively, we're going through Joel Embiid.
Yep.
And defensively, Jimmy Butler will secure and anchor everything out front. That's how we play.
Yeah, but
the problem.
That's how we play.
Go ahead, Shaq.
The problem with these teams, and I actually had this problem. Sometimes we worry about nonsense rather than having communications. Once Phil sat me and Kobe down and said, okay, Shaq, we're coming to you early, and if you're not hitting the free throws, Kobe's going to take over the game. Once I accepted that, see, we're not worried about the pecking order. Kobe's the man, I'm the man, we did it together. And like I was telling Kenny next door, forget the pecking order. The others also have to play well, but the guys have to keep the others involved. So I think the guys are worried about whose team is it and do this, that. Kenny, you make a great point. Ben, run. Get it to Embiid. Jimmy Butler, you take the last shot, and others, y'all got to step up.
And I always, as an
it's a simple game. That's how you win a simple game.
I only respected the guy when he didn't say he was the guy.
Exactly.
When he told me he was the guy, I'm like, you ain't the guy. Yeah. You ain't the guy. If you got to tell me you the guy, you ain't the guy. See, and I would never relinquish my responsibility to him then. But if you show me through your work ethic and through what you do on the court, yeah, we can talk about that.
First of all, it's a great point. Both of y'all got great points. But two things. Number one, I ain't never going to call you
the guy.
And no, because you don't have to tell me. And I don't have to call you and say, hey, Charles, you're doing your job.
Right.
No, that's your damn job to be the leader. You don't have to tell me you're the leader. I don't have to call no other player and says, hey, I really appreciate what you taught me when I played with you. No, I followed you. But to get back to the original point, if Joel Embiid is still talking about shots, if Jimmy Butler is talking to the coach about, well, I'm not happy with my role, that's the problem with the Sixers. Brett Brown's got to sit them down and says, yo, Ben, I agree with Kenneth. When we going fast, you're the guy. You get everybody involved. Joel Embiid, we're in the half court. We're going to go through you. Jimmy, you're a really good player, but we brought you here to help us win, not complain about how many touches you get and things like that.
Well, we got time. Let's check out Indiana, because this is a team that's been flying underneath that radar that's always talking about Toronto and Milwaukee and Boston and Philly, and they got the third best record in the Eastern Conference at 29-14. And Victor Oladipo's numbers are not as good as they were, but they're good enough. Miles Turner has seemed to improve. Domantas Sabonis might be the sixth man of the year.
They're really good, Ernie, collectively.
Yeah.
And the issue is, at one point, if you watch a game, as great as Victor Oladipo is, and he's a heck of a talent, but when he plays against the elite team, they don't have the best player on the floor. That's what scares everyone else to say, well, we're going with Indiana. Because when you play against Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is the best player on the floor. When you play against Toronto Raptors, Kawhi is the best. When you play in the Western Conference, we can go down the line as well. So all of a sudden, your best player sometimes isn't the best player on the court. So collectively, they do it. And can you believe in a collection? Well, and that's when it comes down to a play or two in a game.
Other than the coach in Brooklyn, Nate McMillan has done a fantastic job.
And Kenny Atkinson.
Kenny Atkinson, he's done a fantastic, because the Nets they've been fantastic all year. Sean Marks. Oh, no, I'm talking about in the East.
Oh, in the East, okay.
Mike Malone, first of all, I got to call up my Denver Nuggets, too, tonight.
Okay.
But Mike Malone has done a fantastic job.
Tired of talking about your Nuggets every week.
Ernie, I was so pissed the other night at the Nuggets.
But they're 7 out of the last 10 games.
No. When a guy, Kenny, you know, Shaq, you know this. There's big.
The Nuggets playing tonight?
No, but they got big games. There's big games. Am I right?
Right.
Oh, they got smacked.
And the Warriors came to their house, slapped them, beat their kids up, took their lunch money, and left. You cannot do that.
Oh yeah, I see how it man up. Okay.
That's my man Serge. He's the Sixers masseuse.
Anytime he's eating grapes and getting massage on a court,
I would hope he is
playing. You know he's playing.